In this video, we're going to show you how to configure a NAT feature called Port Address Translation, or PAT, also called NAT overload. Here's what that feature or that option provides, and is one of the most popular options that are configured on a firewall or an internet edge router. So it allows multiple devices on the network, like a computer, a guest computer, a server, or anything, that if they need to access the internet, that they can use a single public IP address to do that, but they will use a unique port number that will be added to the NAT table on the firewall. Therefore, in this video, we're going to specify that any user computer on the 172.17.101.0 network, if they want to access the internet, they will use the public IP that is configured on this interface for Ethernet 1.1. And we can do that by using this option. So let's go ahead and configure that. The first thing that we need to do is add an object for that particular network, our user network. To do that, we need to go to the Objects tab. And by default, it is selected for addresses on the far left. Here, let's go to Add. For the name, let's call this users dash, then the actual network. Now this is only a name or a description. Now for the type, we're going to select IP net mask. Then we're going to specify that user network, which is 172.168.101.0/24. Once we're done, we'll click on OK to add this new object. Now let's configure that NAT policy. And we do that by first going to the Policies tab. Let's go to NAT, then let's go to Add. So in this window, how these options work is you work at one tab at a time. You work from the left and you work your way all the way to the right. That's the best way to understand how the PAN works for most of its configuration. And you'll see that a lot when we go into security policies, even the decryption policies in later videos. But you work from the left to the right. Therefore, starting with the General tab, let's input a descriptive name for this PAT, and we'll call this, PAT for Port Address Translation dash users. So we know that this pertains to our user network. Now the NAT type will be for IPv4, so that is selected by default. Now let's go to Original Packet. And here, working from left to right, you first need to specify the source. Well, that will be our user network. Well, what zone do they belong to? Well, they belong in the RH LAN zone. So to add that zone, we're going to go down and click on Add and select RH LAN. Now for the destination, well, that is anything on the internet, and that is connected off of the RH WAN zone. So let's select that one. And the destination interface will be through our WAN interface, which is Ethernet 1.1. And for service, that is for any particular service, HTTP, FTP, DNS, anything. Now we have is the addresses, the source. Well, that would be our user network only, because we could have other networks that could use a different translation. So for the source address, we're going to go to Add. Now by default, it is any address, and we're going to select the object that we added earlier for the user network. And of course, the destination will be any address on the internet. Now, once we do that, let's go to the Translated Packet tab. Now for the source address translation, the translation type says none. We're going to change that, and we're going to select Dynamic IP and Port. For the address type, it shows translated address. And we're going to use the interface address. Well, from which interface? Well, we're going to select the WAN-facing interface of Ethernet 1.1. Then we're going to select the IP that is configured on that interface. And of course, we do nothing in terms of the destination address translation. We're only translating our source. So once we're finished, we're going to click on OK. And finally, we need to commit our changes. So let's do that now. And that is it. So with that configuration, that will allow our user network when they're accessing the internet, it will use the IP address that is configured on that WAN facing interface.